Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, my friends. You may well know that East Coast Throwdown just finished up. Lots of fantastic matches and the start of the Mortal Kombat Pro competition. But we also now today, the day after, had a patch just drop. And the patch, it's got a lot of goodies and it does indeed have some balance changes. Some balance changes that they were just definitely waiting for East Coast Throwdown to finish up before they implemented. So first, let me just show you the basics of the patch before we get into the significant balance changes. So you can see here we have patch notes built into the game, although it's not complete unfortunately, but still we have something to work with here. So a Halloween fatality added to the premium store. It's Halloween time. Moves can now be pinned to the HUD. Yes, we fought for this, and I'll show you in a second. In-game ping / connection indicator can now be enabled by online options. You'll definitely always want that. Added the ability to mute voice chat and microphone via main menu under the audio settings. Great. Sometimes we don't want to hear other people. I had to turn off the audio settings on like the PlayStation base level for me to like fix that because I don't want to hear other people talking all the time, right? So now that's great. And the big one, general gameplay bug fixes, which unfortunately there's no detailed notes, but I do at least know some of the changes, including our boy Cyrax. So let's go and look at training mode for a second, right? And one of the things you might notice here, let's go to an all new stage. Because the Wuxi Academy stage, they gave us a nighttime version. You may remember this from the story mode, but now we can use it in versus. Hey, that's great. Another effective stage, awesome. I'll take it. Now, okay, let's say I have trouble remembering that move list. Well, wouldn't you know it? We can now finally pin moves. We can pin up to 10 moves and have them on screen at one time. So this was a feature in like just about every other Mortal Kombat for a long time. And for whatever reason, it was not apparent and not in this game. And nobody was a fan of that. And I just have to assume it was an oversight. Thankfully, it is fixed. And now, whatever moves you need to practice, say if you can't remember, say forward, forward 1-2 or something, there you go. It's on your screen. And just there for your use and perusal. And, hold triangle, get rid of them, tag new ones, whatever you want to do. If you're a, expert level player and even an intermediate level player, maybe you don't need this, right? But I've always found it useful when learning new characters. And I know if you're starting a game, this is a great feature. And thankfully, it is here now and for the rest of the game's life. Good quality of life features. Now, as for the store, despite them saying the Halloween fatalities there, it actually isn't. We have the Halloween skins, Day of the Dead, Scorpion Sub-Zero, and like Serial Killer, Escaped Convict Melina, which actually looks pretty sick in my opinion. But fatality, not here. I'm sure that'll be fixed shortly, even maybe by the time I post this and it goes live. I don't know, but it's not there this second. Small oversight, I'm sure. So we're missing one Halloween thing, but don't worry. One thing that's Halloween related is free. So we got another new stage. I know I teased you with the first thing, right? This is going to be a seasonal stage. But Johnny Cage's mansion now has a Halloween theme. Appropriately spooky, as you can see. Kind of wish it was here earlier, honestly. Because if they're going to take this away, like, after Halloween, then we're going to have this for like a week and change, right? But yeah, it looks really good. Got our little Havoc. Oh, I didn't see him do that before. There we go. So we got our little Havoc. That's great. We just got a lot of just good flavor, man. Like, I really hope this isn't the only seasonal thing they do. If there's like a Christmas, if there's like an every holiday stage, that'd be fantastic. I like this a lot. Just good flavor. It doesn't mean anything for gameplay or anything, but I just like stuff like this in games. It just adds a lot in a weird way that's hard to quantify. Now, while we're on this lovely Halloween stage, let's talk the nerfs. Let's talk the balance changes. And of course, let's talk Cyrax. So Cyrax, he has one nerf. And it's a significant one, but it's one that lets him keep his overall strength. So does Cyrax still have like the double bar launching throw? Sure. Does Cyrax still have Cyrax Copter? Sure. Still has net? Sure. And what about horizontal spin? Well, it's still there, and it still does everything it did before. Except, you might notice here on the corner, his cameo recharge. Why is it in full recharge? Because if you want to do the horizontal spin now, which is dominant, let's call it for what it is. East Coast Throwdown results prove that, right? So if you want to do the horizontal spin, it now takes a full meter. So before, it took just 1 meter like the vertical spin, right? Now it takes everything you got. So I think that's fair. Once again, nothing about the move is different. It still does a lot of chip, and it still gives you a ridiculous amount of meter for what it is. So those aspects are not any different. So you can still do all the things you could. Nothing's changed by the numbers as far as I can tell. We don't have patch notes right now. But you can't just spam it as much as you did. You can't go wild with it. It's not just an aspect of the game you have to deal with every 5 to 10 seconds of gameplay. If you do it, you'll get all the benefits from spin, because once again, the move is the same as it's ever been, but you will just not be able to do it as much and as fast. So that said, I know most people who use Cyrax are using Cyrax not because they say they'll tell you they love the character, right? But you better believe 90% of Cyrax users are going to drop him after this, because that's just how it is. That's just the way it is. Once the overwhelming sledgehammer move gets nerfed, people move on. Now, that's not the only nerf. Kung Lao, his low hat has been nerfed. Now, how has it been nerfed? The recharge rate. Now, you notice here, it's not recharging particularly slow or anything, but it used to recharge insanely fast, like unreasonably fast. Even me, who uses Kung Lao as an assist, right? I'm like, yeah, this is probably going to get the hammer at some point, right? So now its recharge rate is a little more curtailed. It's still fast. And now that Cyrax got nerfed, you better believe almost everyone's going to switch over to Kung Lao, because that's just human nature, right? But yeah, so it's still fast, it's still very usable, it's still a great projectile, it's still all the things that it's good. It's just, it's a little less spammable. So if you are using it as a projectile replacement, or just, you know, stuff for like, you know, general pressure neutral, or of course, setups in the hat, you're not going to be able to spam it just as much, just as fast. It's not that much slower, but it is a little bit slower. Now, do we have bug fixes in this patch as well? Yes, sir, we do. So as I displayed in an earlier video, if Shujinko did the cameo axe after Shao did his axe, he'd lose his whole moveset. And nope, we're still good to go now. So basically everything works the way you think it would work, right? So while the axe is gone, I have my unarmed moveset, and when it returns, boom, goes back in my hand, I regain my axe moveset. So everything works the way it should in that regard. What about the Sindel Infinite / Unblockable? Yes, that is also fixed. So before, you can only do one float attack in a string, right? That's the logic. But when you froze them with Sub-Zero, since it would become unblockable, naturally enough, that let you basically infinitely loop strings forever, right? Now, they will be able to block like they normally should, despite it being quote-unquote unblockable because of the freeze, right? So basically, Sindel Infinite, no longer a concern. That is patched out as well. So two of the major offenders that they had to make special rules to ban at East Coast Throwdown, now they're dealt with, so relegate that to the bargain bin of history. Now, that all said, I'm sure there's more things to discover. Once again, there's only patch notes. This is just what I could figure out just messing around, right? So when there is full patch notes, probably expect a second video going over everything in depth, because I'm sure there's a lot of things that are not covered in this video because I just don't know, because there's no patch notes. But we'll figure it out when we get to that point. That said, I'm glad they're taking decisive measures this early on, both in terms of bug fixes, because the major bug fixes, well, you know, they're a big deal. They had to be banned, right? And in terms of balance. Obviously, Cyrax, the game was just becoming Cyrax and friends, right? Like, you can pick any character and pick Cyrax with that character, and it was just like a magnifier, right? The top tier characters generally can live without Cyrax, and I'm certain people like Raiden will do just fine. But certain characters without Cyrax and being able to abuse horizontal spin as much as you could, they might fall off the map a little bit. So we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out. Glad they're taking big steps to curtail the game just becoming like the singularity of you just pick whatever character in Cyrax. I'm sure it'll probably be you pick whatever character in Lao for the next little bit, though, while we figure things out. And of course, there may be changes in this patch we're unaware of that could be legitimate game changers. So we'll have to see and wait and find out. But until then, that is the video. That is the news for now. I'm sure there's going to be more news coming shortly. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Mortal Kombat.